So today we'll be discussing the books. These are the Aspera for Astra, an anthology of science fiction. It was published in 2013 and edited by Professor Emil M. Flores and Joseph Frederick Mendocino. The second book is Science Fiction, Filipino Fiction for Young Adults, written by Pelias for Interdisciplinary. So the first book, the Aspera and Astra, represents science fiction made by Filipinos for Filipinos. So it looks at the future of Filipinos and wonders whether we will be exporting human workers to Mars or ruling a new empire of humanity. So will Filipinos be running a guerrilla war against mad robots as the rest of Homo sapiens flee to space in their battleships? Right? Who knows what we'll be doing in 100 years? Okay, the second book, Science Fiction, explores the concerns and issues of today's youth through the lens of science fiction genre. So the audiences are quite different, right? You'll see the first book is for the general audience. The second one is specifically for young adults. I think our discussants will probably tackle that later. Is there a difference when science fiction is geared towards young adults as compared to a general audience? Okay. So we have four discussants this afternoon. First one is Dr. Giovanni Tapang. He's a professor at UP's National Institute of Physics and the Associate Dean for Student Public Affairs at the UP College of Science. He has received numerous grants for VISER, Versatile Instrumentation System for Science Education and Research, and has published many international scientific papers. He is the National Chairperson of Advocates of Science and Technology for the People, or Samahan ng Nagtatagulo ng Agham at Teknolohiya para sa Sambayanan, ADHAM, and a columnist at the Manila Times. Okay. Our second discussant is Professor Ronald Cruz. So last year, it was all UP professors. This year, we decided to widen our circle a little bit and invite a professor from Kalinaw. Okay? He's an assistant professor and current undergraduate student coordinator of the Department of Biology, School of Science and Engineering at Ateneo de Manila University. Wait, biglang lumakas. Alright. He's also the founder and moderator of the Ateneo Biological Organization Explore, Experience, Excel, or VOX. He currently serves as the Loyola Schools Coordinator for Teacher Formation Institute, TFI, and Faculty Spiritual Formation. His book, The Cosmic Wild, Biology of Science Fiction, was published in 2015 and has won the Outstanding Book Award from the National Academy of Science and Technology and the Best Book on Science Award from the 35th National Book Awards. He has also written several short stories and scientific journal articles. So the two books that we'll be discussing today are available from the UP Press. Sadly, Professor Cruz's book is not available, but I would encourage you, it will soon be. Okay, it will soon be available at the UP Press, and of course, it's available at your various local bookstores. So if you're interested in the discussion, right, I would advise you to go out and buy a copy of this book after this forum. Okay, our third discussant is Professor Gabriela Lee. She has been published for her poetry and fiction in the Philippines, Singapore, the United States, and Australia. Her first book of prose is titled Instructions on How to Disappear Stories. This is also available in local bookstores, so you can go out and buy it as well. Her previous works include Disturbing the Universe, poems, and Laon and the Seven-Headed Dragon. So this is a children's book, right? Published by Adarna House. She has received a Master of Arts in Literary Studies from the National University of Singapore and currently teaches literature and creative writing at the University of the Philippines, Diliman. You can find her online at www.sandialgirl.com. And para sa mga stalkers out there, right? You can go to Gabby's personal website and stalk her there. Okay? Yes. Yeah. Okay, so our final discussant is Mr. John Pelias. He's an instructor at the UP Institute of Mathematics who likes to read fiction. He received his Master of Science and Bachelor of Science in Mathematics from UP Diliman. And he has the distinction of breaking UP's 63-year post-war record by graduating summa cum laude, the general weighted average of 1.016. Okay, so yeah, that shows you how brilliant, right? Our professors in math and the sciences are. In his research, he has made oral presentations in numerous conferences. He is the author of 2 calculus textbooks. His research interests are differential geometry and mathematical physics. So I think what's interesting about this book form is that you have different scientists and a creative writer who will be talking about this book. So, you know, is the science accurate in the stories, or are they flights of fancy, for example? Okay, that's going to be a very interesting discussion point later, I think. Okay, so this afternoon's forum will be moderated by Dr. Jamil Garcia. Dr. Garcia teaches creative writing and comparative literature, of course, here at UD, where he serves as a fellow for poetry in the Institute of Creative Writing. He's the author of numerous poetry collections and works in literary and cultural criticism. He's also the editor of the famous Ladlad series and Aura, the gay theme and Philippine fiction in English. His latest books are the post-colonial perverse, critiques of contemporary Philippine culture, Homeless in Unhomeliness, post-colonial critiques of Philippine literature, and Myth and Writing occasional notes. So we're going to mix things up a little bit, and our moderator is going to start, I think, with some talking points and discussion points before each of our discussants give a presentation. So, Dr. Garcia.
That's normally what shouldn't happen. I'm not supposed to work until later. The thing is, we are waiting for our sizable audience that will arrive at 2:30 pa. But the forum is scheduled to start actually at 1, so we should begin. I kind of don't want to do all of it because I'm thinking there's something preemptive about some of the points I will raise. And I think it would be nice if the discussions can actually center around the points that you will each of you be bringing up in your own little talks. But I think I just want to begin by saying that these books are somewhat inaugural in the sense that they are multi-author anthologies. All of the authors are Filipino writers, and they are all trying to write sci-fi. I qualify that by saying trying to write sci-fi because we will actually determine whether they've actually written sci-fi or not with our forum today. But the thing is, UP Press is all too happy to publish them. They are literary titles that passed our editorial review process, and so they were found meritorious enough to be printed by the UP Press. But other than that, they are selling well, meaning there is an audience, there is a readership for this, which really is sad because they're selling well, but why are they here? Apparently, they're more interested in just reading the books rather than talking about them in a public forum. Or, they can't be bothered. Okay, maybe that's it. They're also in class, no? So we begin by more or less having a very broad definition for what sci-fi is. It's such a capacious term that actually the best definition for it is that you can't quite define it, you just know what it is. You know it when you see it, right? It's hard to enumerate all the possible characteristics because there are so many types and subcategories for sci-fi right now. But more or less, loosely speaking, we may describe science fiction as being comprised of imaginative narratives through as rational speculations about physical and scientific principles. So there is a realist speculation, which is an oxymoron. It's realist, but it's speculative at the same time. The commitment, the foremost commitment, is really to physical reality, right? It's as it has been described so far by science. And of course, it's not a hard and fast quality because a lot of the good, particularly soft sci-fi, has fantastical, not really fantastical, but sort of imaginative elements. Meaning these are not necessarily plausible, right? Using the narratives of science. So the two broad categories for sci-fi are hard and soft. Forming a kind of analogy or parallelism with the distinction between the hard and soft sciences. And within the hard and soft basic categories, there are so many other subcategories, and I think some of our speakers will get into that. My favorite would be queer sci-fi. There's also Christian sci-fi. Can you imagine? Christian sci-fi. There, of course, is slipstream sci-fi, and there's cyberpunk sci-fi, and there's another one, the punk thing. What's the other one? Two punks yan eh. Steampunk. Yeah, all about the steam engine, the steam age, a variant. Okay? Now, going by the books, it's clear that our writers have thus far only been producing soft sci-fi. Would you agree? There really isn't a very, scientifically grounded, story. Meron ba? Yung alam ko, hindi na kayo magka-quantum, is that it? No? Okay, no, not that one. Kasi if you ground it in quantum theory, it's practically quantum speculation. It's also quite theoretical. Okay. Now, maybe let me speak on a more personal note first. No? I don't know sci-fi well, but I do know more about the relationship between modern poetry and science, having written a very long paper about that, and having actually examined Filipino poets' attempts to use science in their poetry. And as far as the history of modern poetry is concerned, in the West, poets have manifested an ambivalent sort of feeling or have this ambivalence about science, meaning they have by turns critique science but also embrace science. They have embraced science in particularly in the early 20th century in the attempts by some modernist movements, poetic movements, to use scientific principles to explain the creative process. Like there's a movement called vorticism and another movement called futurism. And these things were actually being sort of patterned, or the inspiration came from, what were then new discoveries, particularly regarding, let's say, unseen things like radio waves. Or even there's this thing called unified field poetry or field writing, right? Which of course comes from physics as well, field theory and all of that. But they have also critiqued science when, for example, poetry withdrew completely from modernist experimentation after 20 years of doing it, like basically with people like Ezra Pound and Eliot, etc. And what became the dominant strain in poetry was confessionalism, which had no science at all. Well, other than the fact that many of the first confessionals were actually writing for therapy. So probably there was the soft science element there of psychoanalysis. Their shrinks told them to use poetry to cure themselves, no? As a form of talking cure, you write about it. But generally, the attitude has been critical of science, poetic attitude, the poet's attitude, because science has been corporatized and technologized, and it has produced awful things like the atomic bomb. Mga ganyan. So talaga complete, parang turn around, no? Initially, they wanted science. They were doing science-inspired poetry, and then after the two horrible wars, they kind of turned their backs on science. Now, science is back. You have people, conceptual poets actually, who are using science. No? There's someone called Eduardo Kac, for example, another one called Christian Bock, who use genetics. They taught themselves biochemistry and have incorporated into their poetic performances genome sequencing and things like that. They basically have, like for example, Eduardo Kac. What he did was he inserted a poem. Well, first of all, he converted the text from the Bible, and then the text from the Bible is man shall have dominion over the earth from the Genesis, right? And he turned that into genetic pair codes, right? Using his own sort of Rosetta Stone kind of key. And then inserted into a bacterium, right? Delicoccus, I think. And you could watch it online. And the thing is, the only thing you can do when you watch it online is press the button which will turn on the ultraviolet light and therefore mutate the thing, right? Or not do anything and not mutate it. But in either option, you are in fact engaging with what the text of the poem, which is man that shall have dominion over nature. right? Because you are actually exercising that dominion over nature, right? Or something like that. Basta ganyan. So poets, particularly rich poets from the first world who have money to teach themselves biochemistry and to buy all the equipment they want, are embracing science in an organic way. It's not just science as material inspiration or source for tropes. It's science in the poetic practice itself. Of course, poem in that sense is very loosely defined as a made thing. If you bring your new critical perspective, you're not going to say, that's not a poem, that's a bacterium or something. Okay, but see, it's a poem in the sense of performance, right? So there is that. No? In the Philippines, ito na lang, kilig tayo, is it obvious? In the Philippines, our poets have used science in terms of maybe themes or ideas that they have picked up from science, not just in poetry but also in fiction. The very first successful short story in English by a Filipino is, as we know, Dead Stars, right? By Paz Marquez Benitez. You've heard of that story, haven't you? It's such a beautiful story, John. You have read that story, Dead Stars. Written by Paz Marquez Benitez in 1925. She was one of the earliest graduates of UP, but ano yan, summa cum laude, no? I think she finished English, AB English, no? And listen, the story is Einsteinian. It's about the special theory of relativity and this whole idea of how simultaneity does not exist in terms of the vast measures of space-time. Nothing is really simultaneous, right? Because the light, for example, coming from stars many light years away will only reach the observer, right? Much, much later. And it's quite likely that the actual star that produced the light no longer exists by the time it's seen, the light is seen. So ganun yung kwento niya kasi it's about a very indecisive man called Alfredo who is engaged to be married to Esmeralda, Esperanza, and the two of them are both middle class. This is set in Manila, 1920s, no? So Commonwealth period, very urbane surroundings. I'm thinking Malate, yung area where they live with these beautiful trees, etc. But when the story opens, Alfredo meets Julia, who is a relative of their neighbor, who is a judge. And Julia is provinciana. And he falls in love with her. But is much too timid to do anything about it. Also, I think it would have been misalliance because he would have, unthinkable really, he would go for someone who is as educated as him, who's also from Manila, from a good family. She's a poor relation of a neighbor. Alright, anyway, nagkaroon sila ng interview, they go to Laguna Lake and they spend an afternoon there and they really fall in love there. But in the end, Alfredo does nothing and ends up marrying Esperanza. And then magpa-flash forward in story, Alfredo is now a lawyer and has been assigned by his office to the province where Julia lives. And so he goes to visit her. And upon seeing her, realizes that this love that he had been keeping inside of him and thought was still alive, when he saw Julia, it was no longer there. It's a dead stock. But you do understand, science was there from that inaugural moment of Philippine fiction in English. So we can't quite call that, we can't call it sci-fi, but it's scientific in a sense, right? There's that sort of metaphor that's used there. So poets have done the same, right? We have poets like Cody Calleja used to teach with FBD. He wrote a book called Genes in a Cell. It's all about genes and written as poems. They're all very funny, actually, because apparently there's a lot of drama taking place on the genetic level. Right? So there's a lot of material for if you're a poet who's scientifically inclined, a lot of material there. He's probably the only poet I know na talagang scientist, no? Microbiologist siya. no, na nagsulat ng libro. Most of the other poets, like Jimmy Abad, has written poems about laws of thermodynamics. Paulo Manalo has written poems about cognitive science. I've written poems about petrochemicals because we don't quite know it. The biogenesis or abiogenesis theory, we don't know how oil is made. Isn't that so crazy? Right? What is it? Is it really fossils? Some people are saying it's not. It's the mantle is producing it talaga. Abiogenic, genetically, talagang walang biology involved, right? Pure inorganic chemistry. Okay, so anyway, have I killed enough time? We can start. Okay, so we. Who would like to begin? Do we go down the line from? Yeah, I think we begin with John going down here. Okay. All right. So now I'm turning the floor over to our first speaker, John.